Learn English through stories. Intermediate English. Heidi. High in the Swiss Alps, where the wind sings through the pine trees. A little orphan girl begins a journey that will test her courage, break her heart, and change lives forever. Will Heidi find happiness in the mountains, or be trapped in a city that steals her spirit? Read along and discover her story. Mountain cabin arrival. On the steep mountain path, Aunt Deet guided little Heidi upward, her small feet stumbling on the stones. At last they reached a lonely wooden hut, perched high above the valley. "This is your new home," Aunt Deet said firmly, pointing to the cabin of the Almuncle, Heidi's grandfather. The air was sharp, the silence deep, and so began a new life in the mountains. The Almuncle. The Almuncle was a quiet man with a long white beard. He looked stern at first, but his eyes softened when he saw Heidi's bright, curious face. He showed her the cosy hayloft where she would sleep, with a round window that looked out at the sea of stars. Alpine meadows. Heidi loved her new life. Every morning she drank fresh goat's milk and ate toasted cheese. She ran barefoot through meadows filled with wildflowers, feeling the sun on her face and the cool grass under her feet. The mountains were her playground, and the sky was her roof. Peter the goatherd. Soon, Heidi met Peter the goatherd. He was a sturdy boy who took the village goats up to the high pastures every day. Heidi would go with him, watching the goats as they leaped from rock to rock. She learned the names of all the goats, especially her favourite, a little white one called Snowflake. Goat herding friends. Heidi and Peter became the best of friends. They shared their lunch of bread and cheese, and Peter showed Heidi where the sweetest wild strawberries grew. They would lie on their backs in the soft grass, watching the eagles soar high above the jagged peaks, feeling completely free and happy. Grandfather's stories. Her grandfather, the Almuncle, watched her grow. He saw the colour in her cheeks and the light in her eyes. Heidi's cheerful spirit melted his lonely heart. He carved a little wooden stool for her and told her stories of the mountains by the warm fire in the evenings. Aunt Deet returns. But one sunny afternoon, a figure appeared on the path. It was Aunt Deet, dressed in city clothes. She had returned with news. "I have found a wonderful opportunity for you, Heidi," she announced. "You are going to the city of Frankfurt to be a companion for a wealthy young lady." Tearful goodbye. Heidi's heart sank. She didn't want to leave her grandfather, Peter, or her beloved mountains. The Almuncle was furious, his voice booming like thunder. But Aunt Deet insisted it was for Heidi's own good. With tears streaming down her face, Heidi was led away from her mountain home. Frankfurt's grand house. Frankfurt was a world away from the Alps. It was a city of tall, grey buildings, crowded streets, and clattering carriages. Heidi was taken to a grand house that felt more like a cage than a home. Everything was silent, orderly, and strict, ruled by a stern governess named Fräulein Rottenmeier. Meeting Clara. There she met Clara Sesemann, a gentle girl with kind eyes who was unable to walk and spent her days in a wheelchair. Clara was lonely and was delighted to have a new friend. She showed Heidi her books and toys, and they spent hours talking and sharing secrets in her grand playroom. Homesick Heidi. Heidi tried to be happy for Clara's sake, but her heart ached for the mountains. She missed the scent of pine trees, the sound of the wind, and the taste of fresh goat's milk. She would dream of the sun setting over the peaks and wake up with tears on her pillow. Strange rules. The strict rules of the house confused Heidi. She wasn't used to sitting still for lessons or eating with perfect manners. One day, she secretly brought home a basket of soft white bread rolls, hoping to take them to Peter's grandmother. Frau Rottenmeier was horrified by this strange behaviour. Herr Sesemann's worry. Clara's father, Herr Sesemann, was a kind man who saw Heidi's sadness. He tried to cheer her up with gifts and stories, but nothing could replace her mountain home. "She is fading away here," his friend, the doctor, warned him. "The city air is not good for this little bird." Sleepwalking illness. Heidi grew pale and thin. She began to walk in her sleep, her homesickness making her ill. The doctor saw how deeply she yearned for her home. He told Herr Sesemann, "There is only one cure for this child. You must send her back to her mountains before it's too late. Return to the Alps." Clara was sad to see her friend go, but she understood. "You must get well, Heidi," she said, squeezing her hand. "Promise you won't forget me." Herr Sesemann arranged for Heidi's immediate return, packing her a trunk full of gifts for her and her friends in the Alps. Home again. The journey back was a blur of joy. When Heidi finally saw the familiar peaks of her mountains, she felt her heart would burst. She ran up the path to the hut, shouting, "Grandfather! Grandfather! I'm home!" The Armunkel rushed out and hugged her tightly, his eyes filled with tears. Joy restored. Back in the fresh mountain air, Heidi's strength and happiness returned immediately. The sun brought the colour back to her cheeks. She ran to see Peter and the goats, her laughter echoing through the valleys. She was home, and everything was right in the world again. Clara arrives. The next summer, a special visitor arrived. It was Clara. Her father had sent her to the mountains, hoping the fresh air would do her good, just as it had for Heidi. She arrived in her wheelchair, carried up the mountain, looking pale but excited to see her friend. Mountain kindness. The Armunkel cared for Clara with great kindness. He fed her delicious, nourishing food and carried her outside every day to sit in the sun. Heidi pushed Clara's wheelchair through the meadows, showing her the vibrant flowers and the buzzing bees, describing everything with joyful detail. Encouragement. Heidi encouraged her friend every day. "The mountain air will make you strong, Clara," she would say. "Just try to stand. I know you can do it." With Peter's help, they would take Clara to the pasture, where the scent of herbs and the warmth of the sun filled the air. New strength. Surrounded by the beauty of nature and the love of her friends, Clara felt new strength growing inside her. One afternoon, inspired by a beautiful butterfly, she felt a powerful urge to follow it. She pushed herself up from her chair, her legs trembling but holding. A miracle step. Heidi rushed to her side, her eyes wide with joy. "You're standing, Clara! You're standing!" Clara took a small, wobbly step, and then another. Heidi and Peter cheered her on as she took her first steps in years, walking on the soft mountain grass. It was a miracle. Family's joy. When Clara's father and grandmother came to visit, they could hardly believe their eyes. They watched, overjoyed, as Clara walked towards them, her face glowing with health and happiness. The healing power of the mountains and the endless kindness of a true friend had changed her life forever. True home. Heidi's heart was full. She had her home, her family, and her friends. She had brought the joy of the mountains to the city, and the love from the city back to the mountains. In the heart of the Alps, surrounded by those she loved, Heidi had found her true place in the world. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more fun English lessons.